Welcome to the Hermitcraft recap. My name is Pixelriffs, our writer is LoyXP, and we're happy to present to you the taglines for tonight's offering. The Diamond Throne is back, the Resistance has a headquarters again, and the GOAT makes a triumphant return. So either we've gone back in time a month, or clearly we're missing some details. So let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week.
Whether or not this is the perfect base for the mycelium resistance, I don't know, but I've lent into the mushroom thing and we've got ourselves a phenomenal looking headquarters.
Starting with Doc M, who emerges from the shadows in the form of the Goat Man, summoned by the strongest flashlight the mycelium resistance could shine at the suddenly cloudy sky above the shopping district. He isn't the hero they need, but he'll design the traps the HEP deserve, wiring up a security system in the brand new Resistance HQ, which, for now, trips an alarm and sets upon the intruders with an army of invisible Zoglins. It's the kind of manic genius we've come to expect from Doc, but it's no wonder his neighbors have decided to relocate elsewhere.
This is so sad. Come on, man. Just because your neighbor goes away for a little bit, don't have to move out right away. You could enjoy the quietness and maybe slowly invade their garden or something, but not just take your house and move.
He's leaving at least some of the interior free for XBcrafted, who, when he's not finishing up his nether tunnel and smoking the competition at Cubfans' one-sided game, has taken on the task of decorating the Resistance HQ's interior. Shroom lights and mycelium-themed accent colours make an easy fit, and the giant mycelium source block takes up its rightful place on a pedestal behind the throne.
Hopefully the rest of the people like it. Like the rest of the Resistance and...
For those of you asking the same question VintageBeef is asking,
what about Podzol?
The Podzol party hasn't been as active as the other two factions, but that might be because Beef has made it his mission to track down the elusive Pigstep music disc. After a quick gearing up montage, he steps into the nether and raids a handful of bastions until, inevitably, disaster strikes in the form of a piglin brute.
Dang it, you gotta be kidding me!
After a few brave attempts, Beef resorts to asking Keralis for his copy of Pigstep in exchange for some choice compliments and complimentary musical instruments for life.
Beautiful face, loved one, kind eyes, gorgeous smile. How you doing?
The scalding hot tunes lead to Keralis outfitting his city with fire trucks and rescue vehicles, while the fire station gets a multi-item storage system installed, which we can only assume is because Nembon's redstone is absolute fire too, even if the finished design needs some extra Xisumavoid supervision to figure out where it was assembled wrong.
So this stores about 560,000 items. 560,000 items.
The Redstone Whisperer himself is hard at work with the Potion Brewer project. Even if it means taking out a generation of Striders to enhance the Ghast tier outfit, or sifting through spreadsheets and maths, Azuma arrives at a point where the mass brewery can output a set of fully modified potions, be it glowstone, redstone, or gunpowder variant. The first run provides plenty of poison to splash around, which X delivers to Etho right away to help with the full clench parkour course.
Is it actually built here? Am I mistaken?
Handling deadly liquids now comes easily to Rendog, who just drained the jungle lake bordering his terraformed landscape so he could transform it into another volcanic flow, adding in islands so he doesn't have to collect and place thousands of lava sources. But the ultimate destructive power comes from within the Sith castle anyway, because he's blasting it out to bedrock so he can fit in a new storage system. The process is not without its setbacks.
That certainly did a thing, although it looks like we blew up a section of the TNT dropper.
But after all that work, he gets to have some recreation as he and Impulse SV team up to go head-to-head against GoodTimesWith Scar and BOO in Grian's barge quest.
So what I'm going to have to ask you to do is when we begin... Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness, B does put on some clothes, man. No.
Impulse has had dealings with Grian outside of the quest, as the pair of them negotiate relocating Impulse's Guardian shop inside of the Emporium and plan for the future of the Mycelium Resistance HQ. But they're all business once the quest begins, taking the two teams on a treasure hunt that's half navigating the server and half a gauntlet of minigames and tasks for them to complete as quickly as possible. The finale turns out to be a fight against 3 Wither bosses, leaving us questioning whether this was really just a complicated way for Grian to get hold of a beacon.
I didn't know that Withers blew up stuff, I thought they just blew up people.
It's a tense struggle for the lead throughout, and the first team to take down a Wither could easily have walked away with it, but after Rendog was dispatched holding the Nether Star, Scar scooped it up and B-dubs loaned him the wings he needed to return to the barge and cross the finish line. No matter who won and how, there were prizes for both sides to take home, and B-dubs got to return to landscaping and tree planting in his idyllic village project.
I'm so in love with this. This is my favorite thing.
GoodTimesWith Scar, in the meantime, has been encouraged by the reassembly of the Diamond Throne to return to once-abandoned Operation Aqua Thunder plans. The enormous chunk of land he bought out before the elections even started is flattened out, expanded to where Tango's Toontown is visible in the distance, and divided up into plots for future stores. One such being a clothing label, Scar takes up TNT mining to provide netherite for all the stylish threads on display. The Ocean Nightmare Blast Mine is so powerful, it lags out Joe Hills all the way in the overworld, though Scar gives him a bit of the merchandise to make up for it.
Whoa, Joe, don't mind me down. There is a gift. And let's see. Sorry about... We're going to hit the wall. The lag.
A little extra netherite goes a long way for Joe, who's expanding his base cavern and spawn-proofing the adjoining caves, which mostly means battling his way through socially spawning zombies. But he also gets to use it to create a lodestone compass, the better to faithfully recreate decked-out mechanics at the mini-game he's been working on for Zombie Cleo. After much redstone wrangling and scrubbing through replay mod footage, Joe also adds a fully working Soul Flame replica and declares the exhibit feature complete.
We did it, folks. We have rebuilt a tiny part of Tango's Decked Out with a modicum of understanding of how it works.
Cleo calls him a madman for it, which are choice words coming from a woman building with glazed terracotta. Having just cleaned out Joe's presents from her storage, she designs quite a distinct teal and white interior for the room to audible protests from her cats.
This whole floor was inspired by Keralis floor somewhere in England. I managed to subdue my inner gaudiness.
So, it having been like 10 minutes since Decked Out, TangoTek starts off a new minigame that's bound to make some noise in the community. Granted, the community fails to fish out the falling TNT blocks before they reach the bottom of the honey block wall. Sticky Bombs, as it's called, is a minigame about being able to prioritize, cast accurately, and managing a fishing rod. Until he made it a two-player game, and it became mostly about blowing up Etho. You catch TNT to prevent it dropping from the ceiling, and you catch snowballs that you can use to further inconvenience the enemy. All in all, quality competitive murder Tetris.
Oh yes! I did not see it. Oh man, I thought that was on your side. Oh, more coming. Oh, you sneaky guy.
Gravity is just as unkind to the slimes Tango's been farming, even if they get a fun ride up a sludge pipe first. The goo drips down an oversized toxic waste barrel in which Tango has positioned two monstrous tentacles. Might be slightly too close for comfort to the Aqua Town, but Hep's got its hands full with the Resistance, so they're not going to mind. We actually find out where the jail from last week came from. Turns out FalseSymmetry built that, still riding on the sheriff cred from 3 seasons ago. Actually, never mind that, she was deposed and arrested back then. And that taught her nothing, seeing as how she's now committing crimes against physics. I thought I knew how boats work, but here we are.
Well, I must say, I really quite like that. It's very, very different than anything I've done before.
It actually checks out if there's a mechanical bear atop that water stream catching them.
Something will explain that. I'm not sure what it is exactly. You guys can get to the comments below.
And speaking of things that make sense, pigs in space! Inspired by Yo-Yo the Void Pig, Zedaf vacated even more swine to the outer reaches of the End Dimension. He builds them a satellite to pilot and plenty of dangly leads to zero-G train, though getting them to the actual thing is quite the conundrum, as leads don't necessarily survive high-velocity elytra flight.
Piggy, we do not want to rocket a single time. They cause too much issues, and this is a lesson for you, NASA, as well, wherever you are. Don't use rockets, use ladders.
Guess this is one way to literally top the aerial sheep service. No, this time the herd remains on the ground, where Hypnotizd can breed them up and stuff them into an automatic wool farm. Those are now possible, after all.
But yeah, we have a lot of dark oak now, and we have our sheep farm mostly done. It's obviously missing the most important part, which is sheep.
Whether it's VintageBeef rubbing off on him or smooth sandstone is just really nice to build with, Hypno goes pretty Mediterranean on the interior. It's a fairly sandstony week for him overall, what with Cub and his one-sided minigame. Speaking of whom, Cubfan decided it's time to go above just putting minigames into his Pharaoh's lair and start putting villagers in it too. A village fit for a pharaoh, which would more accurately be a whole country, starts from encasing the accessible areas of the pyramid in full sandstone blocks, since the peasants were trying to pathfind through the walls otherwise. Hopefully they won't try and phase through the ceiling also, but Cub makes it out of full lapis blocks just in case.
All we need to do is just mine 4 times more lapis than we have so far for the entire season, and then we should be good.
TFC isn't making his base out of full iron blocks, but he might as well be with all the hoppers he needs for a substantial storage system. And having spent very little time branch mining lately, he swallows his pride and goes to buy iron from Tango's shop in the meantime. He commits to farming the trees himself rather than spend more diamonds elsewhere in the shopping district, and is able to expand his storage chests to at least cover the branch mine basics.
I know I had this big thing last season where I wanted to filter, quote, all of the things, unquote, and yeah, that didn't work out so good.
Which just means neither Rendog nor Grian are getting any of his money. Yes, the expansion of the barge leaves Grian in direct competition with Rendog, and actually just a little cheaper than him, got to make up for the Impulse and Hypno acquisition. Though expansion of his enterprise comes up in a different spot of the island entirely. Back where Scar had his large area bought up, Grian remembers buying a tiny spot of land, but doesn't remember exactly where. If only there was some sort of public record, on video perhaps, but oh well. Well, the good mayor will have an even bigger eyesore to deal with, because under the command of the resistance leader of sorts, himself, Grian turned the HEP HQ into a llama, as VintageBeef wonders in the distance why he didn't think of that. With their back covered by Doc's extensive security measures, the resistance is told to go on the full offensive, but the problem with playing with fire is that sometimes you end up being toast. And finally, there's Empire, but perhaps not the one Rendog was expecting, because it's being started by Iskall. Although it's only a matter of time before a British man shows up to complain you're starting an empire without him.
You didn't mention it to me.
Yeah.
You haven't brought it up or anything like that. You know,
You've been busy.
I will turn up and I will say I will be in your empire.
Wait, let me express my feeling. Oh!
It turns out Mumbo got frustrated enough trying to fix his villager breeder that he decided messing with Iskall was a better use of his time. And it might be after all, because after some persuading, Iskall's plans to remodel his plots of the shopping district are moved overseas. Despite the amount of sand they mine to get it started, Mumbo is quick to point out that this isn't Sahara. Instead, they dub the new project Pacific, and while Iskall terraforms an island for its first foundations, Mumbo designs the meeting room.
Yeah, this is the meeting room. I thought we could do with some inflatable noises, you know?
Despite how distracting the noises are, they manage to have a meeting. Iskall presents his blueprints for the project, and Mumbo heads back to his base to do some secret redstone testing, locked behind a combination door which even he isn't sure how it works. Iskall's vision for the island begins with a skyscraper that might be larger than the island it's built on, but if they pull this off, Pacific could be the new force to be reckoned with in the shopping district. And who wouldn't trust a company run by these two?
Yeah.
That is the best thing in the world.
And that's about it for this week's recap. Our writer is LoyXP, and my name is Pixel Riffs. In this week's End Screen Theatre, join me as I teach you how to make a pickaxe through the carefully crafted exhibit at my Survival Guide Museum. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.